Hello and welcome to Frame by Frame.
Woohoo!
That's Andy's woohoo. I think that'll be here for a while. And so hello, Andy.
Hello, Stephen. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's all right saying that, but we've just been talking for about 10 minutes, so I know that you're out fine anyway, and that's just...
Oh, this is just for the people.
Put some drama onto it, keep it alive, man. Yeah.
That's the only way to do this, right? Isn't that what everybody else does? How are you?
Yes.
You've had it. You're great. You're gonna be great.
So good.
You're gonna be awesome.
So good. Awesome. It's gonna be the best one ever.
Dude, have we got a show for you?
You talking to me?
Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?
Then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me?
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like a clown. You?
I'm Peter Binkman. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Man that doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man.
Damn!
I'm kind of a big deal.
The first rule of my club is do not talk about my club.
Yeah, baby!
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Dude, where's my podcast?
Oh, it's right here. This is it. This is Frame by Frame. And
All right.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Okay.
There are no other podcasts. We're the only ones
clearly not.
Nobody else is doing this.
No, yeah, we've got there before everyone else kicked off.
Yeah,
started doing it.
Yeah, but actually, we were not too far away. If we'd have started in 2009, we probably would have just beaten Mark Maron at the game. But that's the annoying thing. I didn't know you in 2009.
No, I mean, that's, if anything, that's lazy on your side.
Very sorry.
Things.
Sorry about
I was
that.
here. I was around. You just couldn't be bothered trying to find me.
Technicalities. So here we are again. It's another year. It's a very long decade. It's a lot of movies to pack in.
It is, but I mean, it's what a decade, man. It's really good.
It really
Enjoyed
is.
this.
Yeah, I mean, this was a tricky one for me.
Yeah, I think me too.
Because nothing was really jumping out as like all singing, dancing blockbusters. There were some, but they were a little quieter than the previous years, I felt. But the ones that I've chosen are definitely outside of the blockbuster realm. More or less. Less.
Well, we shall see. I think mine. Yeah. Okay.
Who's going to go
Okay.
first? Oh,
Well,
do we have any news?
No. This is gold, man. This is gold.
Nice. So 1992. Where were you in 92?
Where was I? 92? Well, Wigan in the UK. Well, actually, 1992 was a bumpy year for me for music. I discovered what would end up being one of my favorite bands ever. So yeah.
If you wanna be my lover.
Like called Dream. They released an album called Images and Words. And yeah, it would sort of changed my life a little bit. So
Time to meet up with the band headlining the event, and that is Dream Theater, one of the most popular new bands on Headbangers Ball these days.
We're psyched. We're ready.
It's funny, isn't it? How this was the year that started to kick off the idea of so much more than just a love of film. Also, behind all that, there's the music. We often forget about the music, but of course, we can sneak that into all our films as we talk about them now. But I was obsessed with like one particular film that came out in 92 that I wanted to have every possible TV spot for this film, and I wanted to knit them all together and make the movie before everybody see the movie before everybody else did. I thought, is it possible? No.
Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
You get buying ice picks.
It's like I wanted to own this one movie that's the one that you're not talking about. Thank you, Paul Verhoeven. And so my first pick for 1992 is a tie. Two movies that pretty much are a third sequel, and they're very, very similar in that they did a huge departure from the first two films. And so the two films that I have chosen as a tie, because I just couldn't decide which one to drop, was Army of Darkness and Alien 3.
Was there an alien on board?
Yes.
Groovy.
You got real ugly.
Sound the trumpets. Raise the drawbridge. Look out! Drop the Oldsmobile. From Sam Raimi. Oh, that's definitely something in here with us.
We have no weapons of any kind.
Let's start.
We've talked about both these films as well, but there's something that kind of ties them together. The idea that Army of Darkness is Evil Dead 3, pretty much.
Yeah.
Never got called Evil Dead 3. It seems as though that every time Sam Raimi made an Evil Dead movie, he had to change the narrative because of copyright issues, which is weird, considering it's his own baby. Thank you, distributors, and thank you, producers. So yeah, Army of Darkness takes Ash into medieval times, and it's a real fun romp, that one.
Yeah, it's a great film. It's really good.
Yeah, it's different, and I think if you go into a film thinking that it's going to be the same as the first two, then you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And this was, thankfully, something that was different and yet stayed in the vein of what Ash was meant to be.
Yeah.
And as for Ripley in Alien 3, she had a huge departure because everybody... it was a very somber, dark film, Alien 3, but there's a certain charm to it. There's a certain sensitivity to it. I always enjoyed Sigourney Weaver's relationship with Charles Dance and Charles S. Dutton in this movie. They both understood her, and that she'd had two great movies, and now she's stuck with them in this prison. And of course, she dies, Ash doesn't. But wouldn't this be a great combo of a movie if Ash Williams and Sigourney Weaver, Bruce Campbell and Sigourney Weaver actually teamed up and made a film together?
There's got to be a comic, Ash versus Aliens, somewhere. There's got to be. There's
got to be. And yeah, so yeah, I just couldn't decide which one to drop. They're both personal films to me. At the age of 12, I wanted everything Alien 3 because I was fascinated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this was the start of my fascination with horror, but also horror comedy as a concept. Has been with me since American Werewolf in London.
So if I'd been militant and said you had to pick one between the two, which one would you have gone for?
Don't make me choose my children.
Which would you say is the better film? Which would you say? Okay, here's a question for you. Which would you say truly represents the vision of the director?
Well, then I'd definitely have to say Army of Darkness, because the vision of the director for Alien 3 was a mess, unfortunately. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to a pure,
Fincher was not given final cut with Alien 3.
If we were to say, who would be proud of their work, yeah, Sam Raimi, hands down, would be proud of Army of Darkness. So yeah, let's just send that up and say that Army of Darkness definitely is probably the front runner of that one. I should have spoken to you before, and then we wouldn't have had this tie situation.
This is absolutely fine. And,
very good question, Andy. Well done.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. There's my 0.005% out the way with straight away.
We haven't had one of those in a lot of episodes.
No, we don't discuss it for a bit.
We've been so stupid.
It's such a drag, isn't it? It's like I enjoy the film, but it's a hard film. Where Army of Darkness, you could put that anytime and have just it's a romp. You have a really good time.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Still scary in bits, you know, when he gets put in that sort of, not cellar,
Pit.
pits, yeah, and then the Deadites down there, and, you know,
There's-
it's still quite scary, and the effects are just as good as you'd expect from Sam Raimi, you know, but it's such a good, fun romp of a film. But Alien 3, I mean, bloody hell, Ripley had a life, didn't she?
She had a life, but do you know what? Yeah, I think, again, nostalgia, the sense of nostalgia, I was so ready for that film.
They released the quadrilogy, and you had the director's takes of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you ever watched the Alien 3?
Yeah, because it's a bison or a boar or something.
Yeah.
Instead,
Yeah, that's
and
it, yeah.
there's a lot of extra scenes in it, and I kind of get a kick out of listening to, you know, just watching them, and it's like your ears prick up, and all of a sudden you pay attention because there's something a little bit different about this version.
Yeah.
And
what I always loved about that quadrilogy when you had these director's cuts on it is, like, obviously, you know, you got Alien got a little bit, it was a bit different, weren't it? Aliens was longer because obviously Cameron, that's what he loves to do, make it longer and put extra stuff in it. Alien 3, like you just said, is slightly different. Alien Resurrection, they had that French director is like, nothing, I will change nothing. This is exactly what I wanted.
the opening sequence, that's it. The guy with the bug on the straw, and that is it. No difference.
Yeah, I will not change anything. This is exactly my vision.
This is perfect.
I love it.
Perfect. You change it, you die.
But I think, I don't spend, obviously, we've got a lot to get through, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I disagree with Fincher on it, because I know Fincher sort of, like, he doesn't like it and, like, talk about it, he hates it, and I get why, because Fincher's got his vision, and that's how he wants it to be, but I like it.
I like it, yeah.
You know,
I don't think I think he's softened a little bit, but there is video footage of him at the day. I think it was purely 20th Century Fox that he was hating the whole situation, and I think it was behind the scenes. It wasn't the movie, it was behind the scenes. But every time you look at that movie, he looks at that movie, he's just going to feel, you know, it probably gave him PTSD, you know, it probably really affected him, but it pushed him to become a very strong visual director, and I think he did some work after that you know, that he should be proud of. Definitely.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely. Which we'll get to.
Yeah. Of course. So, Andy, you're first.
So was it my turn?
Yeah.
Right, so my first one, I've gone for a comedy.
Yay!
Yeah. It's from a Saturday Night Live sketch. I have to pick this, and I've gone with Wayne's World.
Yeah, Wayne's World.
Galileo. In the basement of this house.
It's Wayne's World, party time, excellent.
Broadcast history is about to be made.
Extreme close-up.
And to babe heaven.
What do you do if every time you see this one incredible woman, you think you're gonna hurl?
I say hurl. If you blow chunks and she comes back, she's yours. If you spew and she bolts, it was never meant to be.
Okay.
It's Wade.
This is definitely the type of place I'm gonna get when I move out of my parents' house.
It's Garth.
I love you, God.
If she were a president, she'd be Abraham Lincoln.
It's a movie.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Wayne's World.
Hi, Wayne.
It just might be the greatest motion picture ever made.
Are you mental?
Beelzebub has the devil put aside for me. For me.
Oh, yeah.
Wayne's World.
I picked this because I remember when I first watched this film, younger, I was so excited because I'd seen late night on Channel 4, they'd have Saturday Night Live, and I saw some of the sketches. And I thought the Wayne's World sketch on Saturday Night Live were fun and vibrant, and it was like, I was a nerdy kid trying to learn guitar at the time, and it just spoke to me. And when I watched this film, I didn't like it the first time I watched it because it's surreal. It's not a straightforward narrative. It's not what I thought it was going to be, which was just people that I can identify with doing cool stuff. It wasn't the nerds. Things didn't quite go right. Like I said, the surreal element to it. a lot of the in-jokes, and I didn't understand. And
Yeah.
as the years have gone on, and the more I've watched it, the more I just think the film is it's just absolutely brilliant. It's a really fun film. It's, like I say, it's the writing in it is really good. The more I found about Mike Myers, and we talk about Fincher and having a vision.
Yeah.
Mike Myers fought for this film. The Bohemian Rhapsody part in it, the studio wanted it to be Sweet Child of Mine because that was huge at the time. He's like, no, it has to be Bohemian Rhapsody. So no one's listening to Bohemian Rhapsody. And he nearly walked away from the film. He said, look, if it's not Bohemian Rhapsody, I'm not doing the film. I'll walk away now. And he got this reputation of being a really difficult person to work with. But he's not. He has a vision. And he knows.
Trust him. Trust his vision.
Yeah, trust him. I mean, maybe not trust him because of the Love Guru afterwards. But, I mean, he had this idea that as for Bohemian Rhapsody, it has to be. And I think they caved because he was willing to walk away from the film. And obviously, that moment become one of the hallmarks of not only that, but maybe the 90s and film
It is
genre.
iconic. It is iconic.
It's iconic. It's something they'll never be forgot about when they're just singing that part and they're all that, and then it all kicks off all headbang, which made Bohemian Rhapsody go to #1 again.
It did.
You know.
I mean, I think it also made it. It's been the best song in every. It's beat John Lennon's Imagine so many times. When I see that, because all these lists, they've been reconfigured because of this movie. To include Bohemian Rhapsody, which, well, yes, a little bit more forgotten than it should have been, and I think he did a great service for Queen.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, but just music in general, and obviously you're never allowed to play "Stairway to Heaven" in the guitar shop anymore because of this film. Because he remember when he sees that guitar, it's like, oh, it will be mine. It will be. When he gets it to play it, it's like, no, stop it, and he points at a sign that says "No Stairway." So you're not allowed to play "Stairway to Heaven" anymore in guitar shops. But the thing where it has like a depressing ending, and they're like, you know what, we're not having that. They break the fourth wall. They talk to the camera, says, no, let's do the optimism ending. Boo, boo, boo. And then they do another ending, and then they do another ending with Charlton Heston, who gives like a talk, and he ends up crying because the acting's too good. You know what I mean? It's surreal and it's brilliant, and I think it massively deserves. It's not that it doesn't get talked about quite a lot. They're saying, when they're lying on the car watching the planes fly over them really early, they're at the airport.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a scene where, Dana Carvey, Garth, says to him, like,
Did you ever find Bugs Bunny attractive when he'd put on a dress and play a girl bunny? No. No. Neither did I. I was just asking.
And then they start laughing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's actual real laugh because he's just laughing at what he said. And they're both Mike Myers and Dane are just really laughing at what he's just improvised. And it's in the film.
It's in the film.
It's so good. And
but improv was very much frowned upon in movies. That you get your big directors like Altman who might allow things to kind of happen genuinely on screen, but most people had their agenda and they had their vision and they wouldn't be open to that kind of thing.
You were saying last week and stuff that there seems to be thing that I'm attracted to within films.
Yes.
We talked about it last week. Well, I think that's part of it, because City Slickers that I talked about last week, there was lots of Billy Crystal lines that would have been improvised on set, and he kept it in.
Yeah, because comedians can do that.
I love that. Yeah, comedians doing that. Because obviously, I think Mike Myers and Dana Carvey obviously started from a stand-up point of view.
Yeah.
Got into Saturday Night Live, then it was all a sketch thing. This Wayne's World came out of a sketch that they thought of in Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Turned into two amazing films, and
maybe that's a 90s thing.
Yeah. I mean, Tia Carrere in this film is really great. Rob Lowe, it's so funny. Like, there's the sleazy studio exec. Really good films. Laura Flynn Boyle's in this film.
Yeah.
Illuminati,
David Lynch.
Yeah, and it's a great film. So yeah.
It came
there
out
we
at
go.
the right time as well. I think it was a good time for them to start. But you know, it did open the doors for them to pin on hopes of other sketches, and I think SNL eventually became like a launch pad for, you know, potential movies for different sketches, and I think this was the launch pad that kind of said it is possible to do that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of Saturday Night Live alumni in the film. You know, they use actors, you know, because they can trust those people and they work with them so closely.
Yes, they're consistent, they're strong, and you know they know funny. I can't say the same as now, but because once it became an institution after, you know, in the thousands, people kind of then got a chip on their shoulder as saying that, you know, if we're on SNL, then we are automatically going to be funny. It's not always the case. You have to work on it. It has to be a craft, and they struggled to, like you say, Mike Myers struggled to kind of get this film the way he hoped it would be, because he believed in it and knew what it was about. And I like that. It was good. Yeah.
Cool. So that's my number one.
Okay, so my number two. I struggled with this one, but I actually watched it again last night, and I had a ball. It was a lot of fun, and I think this is probably the only Chevy Chase movie that I actually like. Through it all. What a line. How many levels does that line have? And also, this is a John Carpenter movie. Probably one of his best studio pictures.
Wow. Okay, I did not see that one coming.
No. Again, I watched this when I was quite young. It was one of those videos that I rented. You know those things? VHS tapes? Yeah?
You can stick them on the vinyl deck.
You can melt them down. You could also play Jenga with them. Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Of course, it's the Invisible Man story. It's based on the book Memoirs of an Invisible Man, which is a self-driven character narrative of a man who is accidentally turned invisible. There's a love interest, but what they did with this one that you would not expect was that it is actually a light-hearted comedy. It's also an action comedy. Action comedies don't always, come together when there is the potential of deviating to horror. But this one worked really well, and I thought Chevy Chase was criminally bearable in this film. He didn't seem bored or annoyed. He seemed almost right for the part. He did really well. You know, he worked, considering he had to work with all that CGI. I'm surprised at how patient he probably was. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was a monster on set. But, you know, he's, you know, for somebody who likes to be seen, for him to take on the role of an Invisible Man was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daryl Hannah's in it.
Yeah. I saw it. Actually, I have watched it, but it was decades ago.
Yeah. And it was right after, of course, special effects were starting to kind of become more and more clever and seamless. And I think there's a lot of work in this where you can see that there's still pioneering that ability to have seamless CGI with reality. I enjoyed watching this because of that reason when I was a kid, and I was like, wow, how did they do all this? It was all magic to me. But yeah, I got a kick out of this. And if you think about it, what they've done with the Invisible Man story since then, you've got Hollow Man, which was kind of like a sexual deviant. You've got the Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss, which was a horror deviant, a horror sexual deviant. You know, it's all.
That's more about sort of gaslight.
Yes, yeah.
It's more of a sort of a talk about gaslighting. Like that's a brilliant film.
Yes,
Elizabeth Moss.
Because it turns its tables on the whole concept of what Invisible Man is. Again,
it does, and also like she's just terrified of him, but there's something you don't know what it is. He's just a controlling bastard, and she's just trying to get away from him. And he's always been a controlling bastard.
That's
and
it.
gaslighted him basically, and it's
it's the perfect cloak to be invisible. And you know, when you sit there and you think of an Invisible Man film, you think, oh, the stuff you get away with, you know, as an Invisible Man. Chevy Chase doesn't seem to have too much of that in him. He's still a genuinely good person in this movie. Otherwise, you know, it could have been quite a sick film, you know, if it became perverse. There's perverse moments. It's not as if he was all innocent, but it was still done with tongue-in-cheek comedy.
Yeah.
The only thing was that it was his tongue in her cheek, and she didn't know it was there. So there we go. Memoirs of an Invisible Man. It was a solid, fun romp, and it was a.
Well, I'm very surprised. I didn't think you there. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Very good. Okay, excellent.
Go for it.
My second.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a cast list.
Okay.
Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin, Ed Harris, Alan Arkin, Kevin Spacey, Jonathan Pryce, Al Pacino, Glengarry Glen Ross.
We're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. First prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired.
The incredible cast.
Times are tight. It's tight. Pressure's just too great.
The explosive drama.
You robbed the office. Oh, sure. I robbed the office. Oh, sure.
The new special edition DVD, Glengarry Glen Ross.
They stole the leads. They stole the phones. They stole the... Oh.
Directed by James Foley. Written by David Mamet.
When I talk to the police, I get nervous.
You know who doesn't?
Who?
Thieves.
Starring Academy Award winners Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, and Kevin Spacey.
Will you go to lunch? Go to lunch. Will you go to lunch?
Ooh. Academy Award nominees Ed Harris and Alan Arkin.
We're just speaking about it.
Speaking about it is an idea.
Yes.
We're not actually talking about it.
No.
With Jonathan Pryce and Alec Baldwin.
Get them to sign on the line which is dotted.
This special edition DVD includes the 10th year anniversary reunion documentary featuring cast and crew, exclusive audio commentary with director James Foley.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up.
At the end of this, I was so wired up that I took some notes, and one of the things I wrote down as I walked out of this movie is if a salesman were to call me in the next hour, I would have picked up the phone and shouted an obscenity into the phone and slammed it down at them because I was so pumped up. And okay, I'm empathetic toward their situation.
If a salesman had called me, I might have even listened.
Oh, no, I would not.
Because I empathize with these guys.
No. This thing got me tense. And I just... hated to see the manipulation there. I empathize a little bit with them, but they're trying to steal people's dreams.
Now, see,
here.
we both like this movie, and we saw a different movie, because what I sympathized with was that here are guys who are broke.
Of course.
Lemon has his wife in the hospital. The others can't put food on the table. They can't feed their families. They've got worthless leads. They're on the phone calling people that don't want to hear from them. It's pathetic. It is pathetic. It's the situation that people are in because they need money to support themselves. So I didn't hate them. I felt sorry for them.
I felt sorrier for their victims than I felt for them. on stage, I think I had more of your reaction. In this film, I didn't like them. I'll tell you, who I thought the best performance was? I know Jack Lemmon is getting all the praise. I thought Ed Harris was the most credible salesman of them all, and in some way, some of the most lost. He never had any glory.
I think it'd be real hard to pick the best performance in this movie. They are so good.
They're all pretty good,
including Harris.
An American masterpiece about cutthroat competition.
I'm going to make this office, and I'm going to be #1 on that board again.
Glengarry Glen Ross, one of Entertainment Weekly's most requested movies not yet released on DVD, is now available on special limited edition DVD.
This is how we keep score, Bubby.
The much anticipated first offering is now yours to own on DVD.
This is it.
Buy it today.
Well, it's based on a stage play of the same name.
Yeah.
Made a film out of it. The film is just 2 days in the lives of 4 real estate salesmen. They're supplied with leads. You get the names of phone numbers of leads, and then they use sort of deceitful and dubious sales tactics to try and get the sales, basically. Many of the leads rationed out by an office manager, which is called John Williamson. They lack really the money or the investor land, and it's just like it's just a brilliant character-driven piece, really.
It's just very well written film. And
you can tell when you're watching it, it's a stage play, very the way it is.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, but it is a really powerful drama, and
it
quite
is
funny as well.
Jack Lemmon's incredible in it. He kind of steals the show, really. But everybody in it, even like Alec Baldwin, so I think he plays like the boss in it and that.
That's right. Yeah, I remember now. It's coming back to me slowly now.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey is. I don't know. You're not allowed to really talk about him anymore because he's turned out to be a bit of a prick. But
we said that about James Woods last week. But we've got to separate, haven't we? Woody Allen.
Yeah,
it's hard to separate sometimes.
It can be. Yeah, it can be. But yeah, I mean, it's just a absolute genius film. The acting in it just stellar. Yeah, it's really good. And not that I want to swear much, but I've always said this. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the C word.
Oh, really?
See you next Tuesday. But the way Al Pacino says it in this film is just absolutely perfect.
He stabs it.
He's like in that Pacino way. And I've got this lovely Pacino. I've got this Pacino love at the minute because he's released his memoirs, hasn't he? And I've been reading bits of it and stuff and that. But again, it's one of those films that's been talked about so much. It's hard to think I could bring anything else to it. But I wanted to talk about it because it's almost certainly one of the best films of the 90s.
It's one of the strongest, one of the best written films, and I think the cast speaks for itself. And but the thing about these films, I mean, that they are talked about, but it's more of a higher circle of people who talk about Glengarry Glen Ross. It's not something that you go in lightly. And as for the C word, I did make a gag on somebody's stream the other week. It's all about, the C word is not to be used as a derogatory term, but it's all about context.
Very good.
There you go.
Oh, what Pacino said, because there's not much swearing in them. There is obviously quite bits in it when they're getting angry at each other. But it's like Kevin Spacey's at his depth. He's one of those typical bosses, because he's like sort of controls the department. He's nowhere near as good as the people under him, and it's always the way. And he's like, and then Pacino just comes in, and Pacino's like,
"Who are?"
He basically goes, "You cunt, fucking child, you know, and it's like the way he does it is just like brilliant. And Kevin Spacey just takes it, because I think Pacino's like a lead salesman, and so it's great because the salesman who's not doing as well, which is Jack Lemmon's character, they're awful to him because he's not bringing in the sales. So, and it's just
it's old-fashioned.
When I left uni and I didn't want to do anything with music for a while, I had a few different jobs, and one of them was work. Do you remember Craftmatic Beds?
Oh yeah.
So I worked with Craftmatic Beds for it, and all it was a week drinking heavy, so you trained to learn how to sell these Craftmatic Beds, and then you go out and sell these beds. And I went and shadowed someone for a week, and he was just like this. It was just like they are in this. They'd lie, they'd deceive. You know, this woman was like, well, I'm not sure I should really get it because I've only got £5,000 to my name. And, you know, when I'm gone, I know it's not a lot of money, but I wanted to leave it to my daughter. And he's like, don't you think your daughter would prefer you to be happy with the time you've got left? That £5,000 should go on you, not to your daughter. And I was like, fucking kidding me? Yes. You know, and I remember at the end of it, when the guy walked out taking his gear out, I went to this lady, I said, excuse me, but do not buy this bed. You don't need it. You keep that £5,000. You do with that whatever you want, but do not do it in this bed. And so she decided to ring up and cancel it. And this guy, we were in Bolton.
Yeah.
And this guy went up, see what just did dead? I said, you didn't do out, man, because I told her that she shouldn't buy the bed because what I just saw was bullying. That was awful tactics you used. And she like, he goes, yeah, but I'd earn $2,000 out of that. I goes, yeah, but that's all the money she's got in the world. I'm not cut out to be a salesman, basically. Anyway, the guy just left me in Bolton. I had to ring my dad to come and get me. But,
Brilliant. But, it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah. So it was kind of reminding me of that a little bit.
Yeah.
But good film, absolutely fantastic. If you just want to see an absolute masterclass in acting, storytelling, just 2 days in the life of these people, Glengarry Glen Ross. There you go.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Good choice, man. Good choice. Are we ready? I got a videotape here.
League of Their Own.
It is.
Yeah. Wow.
Look at this beauty. Look at that.
Beware of illegal video cassettes. Check whether this video cassette carries a genuine security sticker. Video piracy is a crime. Do not accept it. Demand a genuine cassette from your video store. Poor quality illegal video cassettes reduce your viewing pleasure and jeopardize future film production. When in doubt, telephone the Federation Against Copyright Theft, FACT, on 081 568 6646.
Oh, you've not even rewound it?
Oh, almost. I think I started it again, and then I probably watched the trailers again.
Watch out, America. There's a new league in town.
Way to go, whatever your name is!
Tom Hanks is managing.
Are you crying? There's no crying in baseball!
Gina Davis is catching. And Madonna is scoring.
Oh, now hey, on the field.
A League of Their Own. Directed by Penny Marshall. Rated PG.
Again, it's a film that kind of has a strong... These are films that made my 1992, you know, or no, actually, it probably was 1993 when we watched them because they didn't come out in video until about half a year to a year after. But we're talking about the year that they came out, so obviously. Yeah. I feel, you know, it was a dynamite film, this one. Strong women-led cast, Tom Hanks in the background, which I think is quite a struggle for some actors who are kind of like a big box office pull to actually just sit back and be disgruntled, scratching their balls, falling asleep, dribbling, being drunk. Tom Hanks.
Around in 1992, was Tom Hanks still comedy guy?
No. I think, wasn't he 1 year away from being Philadelphia? I think he is 1 year away from Philadelphia. Oh yes, so he is still comedy guy. Yeah,
that was what made him serious actor, wasn't it? It was doing Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philadelphia turned him completely around, and all of a sudden, you know, he was Oscar worthy. But yeah, but this film's not about him. This film is about Gina Davis, Madonna, Laurie Petty, Rosie O'Donnell. That's it. Rosie O'Donnell was the hard slugger in this movie, and yeah, there's
Wow, who did the music?
Madonna.
Hans Zimmer did the music.
Hans Zimmer did this one. Yeah, I was thinking of the song. This used to be my playground by Madonna. She snuck that in there for her own. That was obviously a part of her contract, but yeah, it was it was a good song. Hans Zimmer, yeah, he knew how to get around in the 90s. I think he was at his strongest in the 90s. It was Thelma and Louise. It was Backdraft. He did some really good scores. I mean, I think one of my favorite scores from Hans Zimmer is The Peacemaker, a film that wasn't very good, but the music in it was...
That's the George Clooney. Yeah.
There was, yeah, but the music in it was incredible. But yeah, this one I can tell it's his staple. It was that jaunty, fun kind of score. But yeah, it's about women's baseball. Basically, while the men are away to fight the war, the women will play. And they do more than play. They bring a really good, strong coming. In a way, it's a coming of age, but it's a coming of gender story where they finally proved themselves to be worthy of attention, and it has become a league ever since then. You know, it's based on a real story, but of course, all the characters are very much what you would expect to find in a comedy film. And yeah, it was a fun film. Yeah, it holds a kind of a dear memory for me. I think I was probably in love with Gina Davis at the time. Might have had something to do with it.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing. She's pretty great.
She's so likable, though. She's so likable, and always, she can act too. She's good.
Right. Okay, then. So I've gone very, very. I couldn't talk about this year and not mention this film. But it's very atypical of this film, but I've had to go with Reservoir Dogs.
You're under arrest, sugar.
Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Tierney, and Michael Madsen. They're the Reservoir Dogs.
Hey, Joe, want me to shoot this guy?
Okay, well, obviously, like you said, Reservoir Dogs is just a sort of heist film, really, isn't it? You know, but
it is.
It's when you first got. I think this is the first film Tarantino properly directed, isn't it? It's like his first, written, directed by. Yeah, he had to fight for this movie to be made, but low budget. So. Yeah, low budget, but what a cast! Got a great cast in it. Again, it's another one that you say that hasn't been said before, but it's really well made film. It's got that the Tarantino dialogue in it, that's been talked about a million times. Just because I saw this pretty much when it came out, and I was like, wow, it's uber violent, and it's a cool film, isn't it?
Cool.
It's quite.
Yeah.
That's the word for it, And I don't really know what else I could say about it.
Here are your names: Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Pink.
Yeah, why do I get to be Mr. Pink? Why am I Mr. Pink?
Who cares what your name is?
Keep Chevy in the film, and everyone who's in it, like Tim Roth and all that, they're all brilliant, and he's really good at writing dialogue for actors.
He is,
and sort of getting the best out of people. So,
but it's that ensemble. It's that that Tarantino was brought up on Martin Scorsese movies. That's why Harvey Keitel's in there. I mean, he is basically the Martin Scorsese of a new generation. He had his staple, his signature. He knows how to pull things together really well, and Reservoir Dogs was the start of a beautiful journey, I think, for him.
It was, yeah, but he doesn't mind wearing his influence on his sleeve. I'm pretty sure he said that. Film noir, The Killing. He said he drew influence from that. Oh, yeah. I think he pretty much ripped it off, really. And then the plot was inspired by Kansas City Confidential, but also like the characters Mr. Pink, Mr. White. That's out of The Taken of Pelham 1, 2, 3. And then there's also elements out of, have you ever seen Ringo Lam's City on Fire?
No, I haven't. No.
Chinese. Great film.
Yeah.
And it's totally taken out of that as well. So but what Tarantino is not like a visionary director who can just go, I see things that no one else has ever seen before. He's a melting pot for all his influences, and it all comes out in his films.
That's it.
Yeah. And I love that about him. I really love that about his films, where he doesn't mind going, yeah, you can see that and that. I think his best film is Jackie Brown, and you can see all the influences that he loves come out in Jackie Brown.
Yeah, very much so.
But it's still a Tarantino film. It's still him, but he's just a melting pot for all this stuff. The amount of films he watches in a week is prolific,
Yeah.
He just ends up being a smell upon it. All just comes out.
He's not quiet about it, and that's what I like about him. He is loud. He will not stop. He will just join people and talk about films. He talks about films. Not many directors are very kind of like, they like to just come and do their work. It's their work. It's very, very serious, very important. They don't like to talk about other things. He does. He likes to talk about other things.
He refused to go to an Oscars unless Jackie Chan got an honorary Oscar for achievements in cinema. He's that much of a fan, you know what I mean? You know, that kind of thing. He's that passionate about it. I mean, he's passionate about cinema that people wouldn't see, like Mexican cinema, like Japanese cinema, like Chinese, like Hong Kong, the films coming out of Hong Kong. He wants to be a champion for stuff that doesn't get seen. And you got to love that about the guy, So, and this being really the proper, I know there's True Romance before and things like that.
Yeah, written by.
This is the true start of, I've written this, I've directed, this is my vision. Here you go.
Yeah, and I'd say, because I think it was Tony Scott who directed True Romance. But it hadn't been made. I don't think it had actually been made yet. I think this still beat it.
Oh, still, right, okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. But I think it was a very brave thing to do, was to make a low budget film, and to I think it was a lightning in a bottle moment, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not something really that he carried on for a while. I mean, he didn't drop the ball. Has he really dropped the ball? I'm not sure if he's even dropped the ball in any of the films he's made. There's always something to like about them, even the ones that people don't like as much.
It's in that vein of rough, tough violence, rough, edgy. Yeah.
But then what happened after that is just a million films started coming out with all this witty dialogue, self-aware dialogue, uber violence, trying to copy the Tarantino style. And
Tarantino, he rejuvenated people's careers as well. I mean, Harvey Keitel hadn't made a lot of good things. I mean, he did make one good film in this year that was quite profound, but look at Tarantino's record after that. I mean, Pam Grier had a complete rejuvenation of her career, and so did Bruce Willis in a way. I mean, he that's what turned him and Samuel L. Jackson into real dependable actors who can do more than just action.
Yeah, and Travolta. I mean,
Travolta too. Yes,
he had a resurgence where he started making Face Off and Phenomenon and all those things that came out in the 90s after he did.
Yeah,
which we'll get to.
Yeah, it's such an exciting. This is it.
Yeah, so there we go. Reservoir Dogs.
Well, my next movie is actually, it ties in beautifully with Quentin Tarantino, because there is another person who this year made a profound film for just $7,000, and it is to this day still the lowest budget that ever made over $1 million box office. Shoestring. I got it on DVD, and we're not talking about the Desperado one, but we're talking El Mariachi.
Now, Columbia Pictures is proud to present a remarkable new film from another extraordinary new talent. The director is 23-year-old Robert Rodriguez. The film, El Mariachi. Mariachi.
Which is Robert Rodriguez's first real venture into cinema. Robert Rodriguez, of course, works with Quentin Tarantino. They are brothers in this world of low budget real film cinema, and it also shares that love of old cinema, very much influenced by everything that's before them, and not afraid to wear that on their sleeve to show people that this is where they came from, you know. But El Mariachi was a great challenge for him. He actually had no budget. All the equipment was borrowed. His crew was literally just him and the cast. You know, the actual DVD that I have here, which I think is invaluable because you get not only the 2 movies, but you get the 10-minute film school on here as well. Which, okay, you can get that on YouTube. I don't care. It's but it's invaluable because when that first came out on video, I got it, and the film school was on there too. And it's like, wow, back in 1993 or whenever that actually came out on video, I was in. It sold me on the idea that I could also be a filmmaker, that anybody can be a filmmaker as long as they've just got the vision and the technical know-how. Then you're done. You can just run with it. He didn't edit it. With film, he shot it on a 16mm, but he didn't edit it on a moviola, just like everybody else would do if they wanted to have a blockbuster film. He did it straight to video, and it was a straight to video film that won awards. It did the circuit, it did all the festivals, and it was a box office success, the biggest box office success ever in history. I mean, there are a lot of films that are made on a shoestring budget that have made millions, you know, like Blair Witch Project and other films.
What?
What?
Maybe Clerks?
Clerks, yeah. I did have the list. Okay. Low budget that made over $1 million. Here we go. Blair Witch Project was only $60,000. Clerks was $230,000, so still quite high.
Quite high, because of the music. I think it was the music that they used that they had to pay a lot of money for.
Yeah, Clerks was pretty much because of that, but that was all, you know, very, very low budget. Friday the 13th, of course. Mad Max was only $350,000. Open Water was only $130,000. That still made quite a bit of money. Night of the Living Dead was $114,000, but El Mariachi, $7,000. That was it. Now, whether Robert Rodriguez kind of had undeclared funds involved in this, I'd have to say that the majority of things that he didn't pay for probably could have been accumulated within that budget as well. So it could even have been less. But the guy knew how to shoot a movie. It's a exciting movie. It's about a criminal on the run who has all he has is his guitar in a suitcase and a turtle that is in the movie, which reminds me of the film Lucky. All of a sudden, because it seems to be a thing, you know, this turtle theme. And he's basically on the run from these drug lords who he's trying to hunt down. He's just trying to hunt down these drug lords, and it's a really exciting film. There are scenes in it that look like it could have done on a higher budget. He made it look like it was more than what it really was. Yeah, it was shot silent, so everything was dubbed afterwards.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, basically he shot the film without sound. It just made it so much easier. He didn't have to have sound slates. He didn't have to have marks. Robert Rodriguez is one of the most bankable producers of film. You know, even right up to Predators, which was still done on a very low budget, still raked in a high profit for box office. He is a box office guru. We made our film on a budget, CAC03.
I think ours was cheaper than $7,000.
It was. What did it make, Andy?
In excess of pounds. Well, nothing at all. But we didn't make it for that. We didn't make it for the Benjamins.
It was cathartic. It was fun. It was, yeah.
So my turn?
Yeah, I think we're on to is it the last one now for you?
Oh, last two.
Last two.
This is number 4.
Gotcha, number 4.
So these last two films are two of my favourite films of all time. So the first one of these two is Muppets Christmas Carol.
Humbug. He was the greediest man alive.
It's Ebenezer Scrooge.
Until the night he met someone extraordinary.
Hello.
The Muppet Christmas Carol.
I'll drink to Mr. Scrooge, even though he is odious and stingy and badly dressed.
Humbug.
Oh, there goes Mr. Humbug. There goes Mr. Grin.
Do you think it's safe for us to be up here?
If they gave a prize for being mean, the winner would be him.
Yes, Mr. Cratchit.
If you please, Mr. Scrooge, the bookkeeping staff would like to have an extra shovel full of coal for the fire.
Such a fools.
How would the bookkeepers like to be suddenly
Unemployed!
Heat wave. Oi! This is my island in the sun.
It's Charles Dickens' classic tale, as only the Muppets can tell it.
It's good to be heckling again. It's good to be doing anything again.
Filled with holiday warmth.
Hey, like the lamp, not the rat, like the lamp, not the rat.
And Christmas spirit.
Jacob Marley?
Oh, that's scary stuff. Should we be worried about the kids in the audience?
No, it's all right. This is culture.
This is the movie to see, to share, to cherish with someone you love.
Thank you for making me a part of this.
Walt Disney Pictures presents, from Jim Henson Productions, The Muppet Christmas Carol.
God bless us, everyone.
Whatever.
I have to say that this is one of the best films ever made, and that's a hill I'm willing to die on.
For the amount of times that we've watched it in this household, I'd probably agree. It's the most watchable films of all time.
It's amazing. Michael Caine has never been better. It's one of the best adaptations of the source material. It's hilarious. It's got heart. It's loving. It's one of the best stories ever.
Yeah.
Being the Christmas Carol, it's one of the greatest stories ever told. I mean, Dickens knew what he was doing, didn't he? I just think it's just an absolute, from start to finish, absolute perfection. It could not be better. It could not be better.
It is one of the best of all times, yeah. And
it really is. I would say, honestly, you could not perfect this film any better. You could not change any part of this film and make it better. It's absolutely perfect in every way, shape, or form. The version that just got released, the cinema version, leave it alone.
It's perfect.
Doesn't need it. It's absolutely perfect. Don't need to say any more. Don't need to say any more about it.
Who's your favorite?
I mean, it's Michael Caine better. Because I love him in pretty much everything he's ever been in, but he's so good in there.
So Michael Caine is your favorite puppet?
No. Yeah, his favorite puppet. Absolute perfect film. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's brilliant. It's just So
take that, Albert Finney, George C. Scott.
I love those versions. We tend to watch the Albert Finney one every Christmas, and we'll watch this at some point every Christmas.
Exactly.
And I love those versions, but this is an absolute perfect film. Yeah. Just the merge of the Muppets and Christmas Carol, just that merge between the two, utter perfection. Could not be any better. I am a kid, and when it comes to Christmas, I turn into a kid. We have about 12 Christmas trees up in the house. They're everywhere.
Yeah, you do. You really go out there.
You go nuts. And if I'd be upset if I put it on during the midway through the year and it's not near Christmas. I'd be like,
oh yeah, you probably, I can imagine that would be different. But well, maybe this is the film that we have to do a commentary on.
We'll do that at Christmas, definitely. Yes. Brilliant, yes. We'll do that.
Oh,
anyway, I don't need to say any more about it. That's my number 4 pick. There you go.
Yeah. Okay, we're ready.
Oh, go for it.
My number 1 pick. I don't think it's going to be the same as your pick because I think I know where you're going with your last one. But my last one, I was going to go for this one, The Player.
From director Robert Altman, comes a story of Hollywood.
I got a writer in here who's got a pitch I think you ought to hear. I think it's hot.
We open outside San Quentin.
The Graduate, Part 2. And Mrs. Robinson had a stroke, so she can't talk.
It's gonna be funny?
Yeah, it'll be funny.
Griffin Mill is a hotshot studio executive.
Yes. Angelica, Griffin Mill.
Oh, hi.
Good to see you. Malcolm McDowell. Hi, how are you? Hi, Berg. Good to see you. How you doing?
He's heard every pitch.
That's exactly right. It's Out of Africa meets Pretty Woman.
He knows all the angles.
We're gonna have to have a little sex in this mystery.
Oh, yeah, sure, of course. We'll get it.
Slowly, he pushes her panties down to her knees.
And all the players.
We're the stars.
No stars.
No stars?
Bruce Willis.
I want Bruce Willis. Not Bruce Willis. No Schwarzenegger.
Julia Roberts.
Now, he's about to star.
How did this get here?
I think they're coming from a writer.
Hello, is David Kahane there, please? This is Griffin Mill.
Who's a dead man?
In his most unforgettable story yet.
Stop all the postcards. I don't write postcards! I write
This is a tough story. A tragedy. Not unlike Ghost meets Manchurian Candidate.
The trouble is,
something you have to know.
If you went to Pasadena with intent to kill, you could go to the gas chamber.
It's not a movie.
I'd like you to come down to the station. I would hate to get the wrong person arrested.
Oh, please. This is Pasadena. We do not arrest the wrong person. That's L.A.
It's his life.
Are you seeing someone else? You took her to a party, Griffin, with several hundred of my best friends. Do places like this really exist?
Only in the movies.
Robert Altman's The Player.
Can we talk about something other than Hollywood for a change?
Yes.
We're educated people.
Sure.
Because you know very well that The Player is my all-time favorite movie of all time. It is right up there, and this is why it's a Robert Altman directed film. It has Tim Robbins in it as a sleazy producer who is trying to get his head above water with an up-and-coming producer who is looking better than him, and he doesn't like it. So he has a bit of a problem with a writer who is trying to ruin his reputation and his career, and Tim Robbins basically goes after him, and something goes wrong, and the writer ends up dead. And from that moment on, Tim Robbins is now trying to cover up this crime, trying to save his career, trying to figure out, his love life as well, which becomes a bit murky because it turns out to be the girlfriend of the writer that he murdered. I don't want to give too much away now, but it is just one of those incredible storylines that is wrapped around Hollywood. It's wrapped around the whole experience of Hollywood, very much like LA Story is. It's a tongue-in-cheek black comedy, though it's a little bit darker than LA Story. But it does certainly take Hollywood and puts it under a microscope and says, look at this, isn't it ridiculous?
Yeah.
It's Robert Altman likes to bring cameos in, and of course, if it's going to be shot in Hollywood, if it's a Hollywood film, then Tim Robbins, this producer, is going to be meeting all kinds of people along the way, getting invited to parties. Anybody is in it. Dean Stockwell, John Cusack is in it, Angelica Houston. Whoopi Goldberg plays a cop, an investigator in it. Lyle Lovett is kind of like the Snoopy investigator cop in this too. Yeah. Bruce Willis, Julia Roberts make their appearances. You name it. Anybody who was hot in Hollywood that time and who was willing to actually be a part of this were there. Even in passing, Cher, you name it. It's a fun film. It's one of those films that transports you. The music has a lot to do with that. It's a very bombastic soundtrack. It pulls you in. It's clattery. It's noisy, and yeah, I love this film to pieces. I can't get enough of this movie. It's a great story, and
brilliant.
Yeah, I again, watch it if you haven't seen it. I'd love to actually go in depth with this movie sometime, but
yeah, might be a commentary thing we could do as well. But it doesn't get talked about a lot, does it?
I think people are afraid to talk about it because they don't know what to say. You know, it's not an easy film to kind of talk about. I know what to talk about. It's right there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it inspired me. It made me really love cinema and Hollywood, but also to actually stand outside looking in and think, it's not what everybody wants it to be. It's not a place of dreams. It's a place of everything but dreams. Dreams are what you see on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. Brilliant film. It's an incredible film. Yeah. I need to watch it again. I've not watched it since the last time we talked about it, and I'm going to watch it again. I've watched it several times, but yeah,
commentary.
I want to watch it again.
Definitely a commentary. I mean, the 1992, it wasn't the most glamorous year for movies, but it certainly had some of the best pictures to ever come out on screen, and they weren't all massive, huge, explosion-filled blockbusters. You know, they were meaningful.
Yeah.
Okay, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so from your favourite film of all time to my favourite film of all time, you know what it is. Last pick is Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me.
Why did you decide to make a prequel to Twin Peaks?
Because I sort of fell in love with the idea of seeing Laura Palmer walking and talking, and I love the idea of visiting her in her last days.
The secret diary. Her page is missing.
Who would do that?
Bob.
But Bob is not real.
Bob is real. He's been having me since I was 12. The diary was hidden too well. There is no other person who could have known where it was.
Because so many things were guessed at and felt and talked about. There were so many mysteries, and I felt it was almost a way to talk about the future of the thing by going into the past. And but mainly it was Laura Palmer. To me, she's such a dream.
Or a nightmare, in fact.
Well, or a nightmare. Someone said in a paper, a beautiful nightmare. I think that's a nice way to put it. There's never been a film of mine, anyway, that everyone likes. So people seem to be violently divided, and it's just the way it is. And then some time goes by, and then the film seems to have a different. It's regarded differently, 6 months later or a year later. But when they first see it film, it's many strange reactions.
Are you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this film is an absolute masterpiece. It's it's the best horror film of '92 because it is a horror film.
It is, yeah. It's
terrifying. This film was lightning in a bottle for me the first time I watched it. So. My good friend Matt, he worked. Do you remember Music Zone? So he used to work at the Music Zone in Trafford Centre, and he'd get all this stuff all the time. He was the manager at that point of Music Zone, and he got Twin Peaks. The first season, it had just come out on video, so he watched it and he gave it to me. He said, "You've got to watch this, Andy." So I put it on and watched the whole of Twin Peaks, the whole season. I must have watched the whole thing in a night. Couldn't stop watching it.
Yeah.
Every single box that I need. So this was after '92, by the way. It was probably late '90s when I was watching this. I couldn't get enough of it. I loved it. I loved the surreal humor, the daft humor, scariness, the otherworldly feeling to everything, the mysticism, everything about Twin Peaks. I absolutely loved. Which made me love Lynch. I got into Lynch. The one night, Matt said, "I've got the film. Have you ever seen the film, Twin Peaks Fire Walk Me?" He goes, "I've never watched it." He goes, I recorded it. It was on, like, say, 2 in the morning on BBC or BBC Two, I think it was.
Yeah, BBC Two,
After, I said, "Do you fancy watching it?" So we brought it up. Do you remember when you could have a video? You could do it in slow play or long play, and you could get like 4 5 hours on a video. And it was somewhere, it took a while to find it, and we put it on. We watched the whole thing. And never since have I ever had a feeling from a film. It left me with such a profound effect, where it knocked me into silence. And after this film finished, it was a good 20 minutes, half an hour before I could actually talk. It floored me that much.
Wow. And
so this film,
yeah,
for people who don't know, obviously Twin Peaks is the investigation into Laura Palmer's death. That's what the series is about. And where you see this idyllic town, you start to see the underbelly of it. How everyone's actually awful and
very much a Lynch staple.
Very much a Lynch thing, yeah. But the film, Twin Peaks Fire Walk Me, is the 7 days leading up to Laura Palmer's death.
Yes.
And what was happening. And it's horrific. It's got drug abuse in it. There's a police investigation going on about someone else's death, which leads them into Twin Peaks. But it's surreal, as you'd imagine, being a Lynch film. It's horrific. It's scary. It's also funny. In parts.
It is.
I mean, Leyland Palmer, which Ray Wise plays, has never been as good as he is in this film. He's absolutely terrifying in this film.
And same with Cheryl Lee. I mean,
Cheryl Lee. I mean, she should have won an Oscar for this.
It's one of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, the performance she puts in this film is of a tortured person who's been abused her entire life. She creates this person called Bob who comes into a room and, as she says in the film, has been having her since she was 8 years old or something. As it transpires, Bob is her dad who's been abusing her.
Oh, of course,
which is absolutely horrific.
Because it took us a whole season to learn of that part, but we never knew the extent.
They do it in season 2. Season 2 is when they say that it turns out it's the dad.
Oh, of course.
Doing it.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't the end of season 1. It was. Yeah.
Didn't want that.
They ruined it, didn't they? That's when he left the set.
They ruined it. The studio, he forced them to do it. And Lynch was off making another film at the time and come back and found what they were doing with Twin Peaks season 2. It's like, what the hell are you doing here? That's why it goes from being incredible to awful to being the last episode of Twin Peaks season 2 being one of the best bits of TV you'll ever see. Because he came back and said, right, I need to try and salvage this. And he did that last episode. And it turns out that Leyland, who's Laura Palmer's dad, was possessed by this demon, this spirit called Bob. And they go into that more in Twin Peaks in The Return, which came back, 25 years later?
Exactly 25 years later, and it was done on
Film
purpose.
where she pulls this funny hand thing and says, I will see you in 25 years. 25 years later, Lynch makes it.
I know. I mean, that's dedication to art.
Yeah.
It's dedication to the art.
Isaac's in this film. Harold Dean Stanton's in this. Harry Dean Stanton's in this film. Ray Wise, always in this film.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But there's a part in it, and this is what part of Lynch's genius to me. It's not only his visuals. Everyone talks about this dreamlike quality, and he sees world as a dream. He sees everything as a dream, and he has this weird way of looking at things. It's this very Lynch way of looking at things. So Lynchian is a thing. People say, "Oh, look at that film! It's Lynchian." Right?
It's not a dream. It's just a thing that happens. It's
And much like Spielberg and John Williams, Angelo Badalamenti does a lot of the music for most of his films, and he's brilliant. His sort of quirky, jazzy take on music marries perfectly with Lynch. But it's the use of sound that Lynch uses. To me, is one of his greatest geniuses. So there's a part towards the end of the film is horrific. Laura Palmer has been led to this train car by her dad rather, and he grabs these pages out of a diary because she realizes early in the film that pages of a diary have been ripped out, and she doesn't know why. And he holds the diary up. He holds the pages that he'd ripped out of a diary, and he's like, "I always thought you knew it was me." And it's noisy, and it's horrific, and it's horrible. And there's that other girl in a train car with her. Then all of a sudden, it just goes deadly silent. All the violence, everything just stops. Look, the hairs in my hand, the hairs on my arm have just stood up because I'm talking about this moment. And then she looks up, and there's like this angel of mercy at the painting you see, and she's just floating above the other girl.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the other girl's shackles have gone, and she escapes. And she knows, I'm going to die now. But she gets away. And it's the violence, the loudness, how awful it is. All of a sudden, it just goes deadly quiet, and there's that angel just floating there over the other person. And it's one of the most. It just killed me. I've never experienced anything like it in my life, and because no other film has ever done that to me, ever had such a profound effect on me. And I know because I was so much into Twin Peaks at the time, people hated this film to come out because they wanted it to be like the series.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It's real, and it's violent and horrible. And instead of a Lynch thing, a lot of it's told in imagery that's hard to decipher and get your head around.
Yeah.
My God, it's my favorite film of all time, and it's just I don't know. There you go.
Yeah.
No, nothing had ever done what he'd done before with Twin Peaks. It laid the way for X-Files, for all this other stuff to start coming out, for the fact that TV doesn't have to be TV. It can be cinematic. It can be weird.
Yes.
It can be whatever you want it to be. Firewalk with Me is also Lynch saying "fuck you" to the TV. You know that the first scene in Twin Peaks is a TV being smashed.
Yeah.
Basically saying, I'm smashing TV. It's saying so much in just that one little bit by saying,
"You're not watching TV now."
And and this is not going to be what you want it to be. This is going to be what I want it to be because I'm Lynch, and this is my vision. This is what's coming out, and
it's great.
Just incredible. Just fucking So that's my favorite film of all time and my number one pick. So there we go.
There we go. It's right out the park. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful film, and we haven't talked about The Return yet at all.
No, we need to. I need to watch it again, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we'll probably have a whole season of talking about that, maybe.
We could, imagine doing an episode at a time and talk about that each week.
Could easily do that. I mean, I'd be well happy doing that. There's some heart-stopping moments in The Return that, it is a good one.
It's Lynch being Lynch again. It's Lynch saying, "I'm not going to give you what you want."
Oh yeah,
you don't get what you want. You're getting this.
You're getting this.
It's great. Episode in Twin Peaks. It's
it's called Twin Peaks, but we're not going to go there much.
Yeah. And then when we do go there, eventually we're going to be in alternate reality.
Yay! I miss him. I miss his weather reports, and I miss his presence.
He's quite poorly now, isn't he? From years of smoking, I finally caught up with him. Bless him.
I think he's taking it easy, and there shouldn't be any expectations of him. He's still a celebrated person for no matter what, and take him with you.
I wish Inland Empire hadn't been his last film. I'd like one more film out of him.
Yeah, I think everybody does, but whatever will become,
Yeah, he doesn't know anything, does he? So.
He doesn't know, and who knows what will happen. But there we go. That was 1992, and it's amazing that how many movies that changed our lives in this list. A lot of influence. And next year, 1993. Wow, things change again.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens.
I can't wait.
But we have got a little TV mention, haven't we?
We do, yes.
Which we have we don't have to go nuts about it, but it's an honourable mention for something that was huge in our country, in UK, which is Ghostwatch.
It is Ghostwatch, and it's just becoming popular in other places as well. It is available on the Internet Archive, which so the American population are able to watch it for free anytime they want. So are we. But yeah, the US is starting to embrace it, and I like that. They're starting to look at it and see what it is for what it is. And yeah, it was a drama. It was a dramatization. It was a War of the Worlds-esque dramatization of something that we felt was real when it first came out.
Yeah, I watched it live, and it scared the living shit out of me when I was a kid. I didn't think, because you didn't, did you? It was done.
No.
Presenters that you love. I mean, it's Lister had a Red Dwarfs in there, Parky. You trust all those two. What's her name?
Sarah Green. Yeah.
Sarah Green.
Yeah,
Sarah Green.
But you trust everybody who's in it. You trust the packaging was telethon. Ring this number. We've got all these people taking your calls. We believed it because it was designed to be believable. It didn't go out of it. Didn't. It did at the end, of course. It kind of went out of its zone, and I kind of compare when you compare these experiences with what Late Night with the Devil, kind of a story. That's kind of like the only thing that's kind of come out since then that's tried to emulate it, but they haven't been able to do it. No. It stands on itself, but also you got to think that Ghostwatch was the first. It was there before Most Haunted. Most Haunted always tends to call itself the first ghost hunting program, but this was the first one that actually did all the nomenclature. The T-shirts, the investigation. It was the first of its kind to do that, and of course, after Most Haunted, America went absolutely crazy over ghost shows, and I think we owe all our thanks to Ghostwatch, this little gem.
Yeah.
So now we need to go into our. Get into our comfortable chairs while we sit here and watch Andy give us an update on Jackie Chan in...
You know me. I'm Jackie Chan!
Welcome to the Jackie Chan Corner with Andy Lewin. Ready?
Action!
Fight!
De Niro, wow! Dustin Hoffman, Jackie Chan! I'm Jackie Chan!
Well, there was two films that came out in '92.
Yes.
Two bangers on Jackie Chan standards. So the first one being a film called Twin Dragons.
Okay.
So he plays two people in it. So you can imagine the hilarity that ensures. One of them is a famous composer, and the other one is a bit of a gangster guy who's a bit rough and ready fighter, and the worlds collide. They realise, we split apart, and they end up just like living each life and stuff. And it's a fun, you can imagine the comedy that ensures from that. A lot of split screen stuff. There's a lot of times where a nice composer guy is trying to fight people but can't fight. You've also got the guy who can fight who's trying to compose an orchestra who can't compose. But a nice little thing where he's trying to compose and he gets into the fight of it and they end up doing...
I can see it.
It's sort of telepathically aligned, so he's composing but trying to fight. You show him how to fight, and this guy's trying to fight. And he ends up doing somersaults off the stage. It was all fun. But it has a really good set piece in this mechanic thing where there's all these flips over cars and cars running over him and he's having to run over cars. All Jackie Chanisms that you'd love. And so that one set piece, that main set piece in the garage is definitely worth watching. If we're gonna so that film itself gets, I'd say, 7 Chans out of 10. It's a good. It's another
good.
What gets lost a lot in translation in Hong Kong cinema is they've got a different humour to us.
Yes, they do.
So sometimes the humour doesn't land quite to us. So you're watching a film, you're kind of getting, oh, for God's sake, this is great and this is a little bit annoying. But when Jackie gets to do what he does best, which is a set piece, we're using all the stuff around him and fighting a load of people, that's when this film really works.
Yeah.
And there's loads of things where, the car windows open in this car, and he jumps through it legs first, and gets through it, and then flips out the other end. He's flipping over cars. Like I said, there's one part where they hold him down on the floor, and then they see that this car's is racing towards him, and the guy just lets go of him. He does this flip off the floor, and then runs over the car as the car's coming towards him.
Gravity is meaningless to that guy. It does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember a lot with some of the early films in the 80s, they were called Lucky Stars, and it was this group of about 4 or 5 sort of really mad cat people, and the humour it was just odd, and to me wasn't that funny.
Yes.
You know, but I think because it's sometimes lost in translation, literally lost in translation.
Slapstick.
So it didn't quite work.
Yeah.
But the other film is returning to one of his main characters, which is the Police Story franchise. It's Police Story 3.
Yes.
Super Cop.
Super Cop.
Yeah.
We talked about this one. Right.
Infiltrate a criminal gang and pretend to be one of them to sort of get in there and, you know, and foil like this, you know, this crime that's going to happen. And that's actually genuinely a good film. I think it was filmed by Stanley Tong, who Jackie seemed to go to sort of make films that could be
international,
embraced by a Western, be international, be embraced by a Western audience. He was always obsessed with breaking America. That's what he always wanted to do. And Michelle Yeoh is in this film. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, it's got the comedy that Jackie's very much known for. It's got the great stunts, the fight choreography. Not as much like a standout fight scene, like big full-on fights.
Yeah.
It's more of a sort of James Bond-esque type film.
Yes.
Which more catered towards the stunts rather than... Obviously, it's well known that Michelle Yeoh rode a bike onto a moving train. And Jackie saw that and was like, well, I need to step it up.
It's not her film. It's Jackie Chan film. It's Jackie Chan's film.
But also, I think Jackie's innate sexism was rife at that point, and he's riding the highest he was ever going to ride at that point.
Exactly.
And I think seeing her do that and say, "Well, I can't have a woman do better than me. I need to step that up."
I think it was to do with motivation and ambition. You know, they were his belief systems. Yeah,
it's basically holding on to the ladders of a plane, of a helicopter. Well, a helicopter flew around a city, and he was literally just holding on. I don't think he was actually secured. I think he was just holding on to the damn thing.
Yeah.
And so that's what he did. So this is a good film for just pure stunts, and there is fight scenes in it, which are always good and well choreographed.
Yes.
But it's more of it's kind of one for him, one for them, I suppose, because the Twin Dragons is more of a stand. It's like a Jackie Chan film with the big fight scenes in it, with good stunts in it, and the comedy maybe more Hong Kong, China-based comedy and international. And then the Police Story 3, Super Cop, being more of an international flavored film, even though it's a Hong Kong film.
Yeah,
it's more flavored towards that. And but so I'd say probably out of the two, the Police Story 3 is the better film.
Absolutely. So how many Chans out of 10?
I give that a good solid 8.
So
what a bumpy year for film, man. 92 was.
Fun year, yes. And life-changing year. And I think this was definitely a part of the awakening of cinema for a lot of things. It was
and especially it was a very coming of age for us.
Yeah, very much so.
You know what I mean? But, I mean, do you remember Free Jack?
I do remember Free Jack, yes.
Like Mick Jagger was in that, Emilio Estevez, I think, you know.
I never really got it, though. It was kind of like a...
Well, I remember it being because of, it had a Scorpion sound in the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to like that stuff. But just, if we could just talk quickly about films we've not talked, we've been going for ages, so like Unforgiven.
Unforgiven.
So we're not mentioning Unforgiven. Aladdin came out, so Robin Williams in Aladdin is a genius in that film.
Yeah, absolutely. Sister Act came out. Whoopi Goldberg, Scent of a Woman. Yeah.
Few Good Men. Dracula. Batman Returns. I mean, I should have talked about Batman Returns because Michelle Pfeiffer.
I thought about it, but then I thought, again, it's something that we kind of want to talk. It's a franchise, so maybe that's something we can cover in the future. Basic Instinct, of course, single white female. We had a lot of killer females in 1992. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie came out then.
Yeah. I nearly talked about Brain Dead, Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, which is a brilliant film and one of the most goriest things I've ever seen in my life. I didn't.
I struggled between Memoirs of an Invisible Man and Bad Lieutenant, and I kind of rewatched a little bit of Bad Lieutenant, and I kind of realized it was just, for me, too self-indulgent, too grisly, self-indulgent. And it's like, no, yeah. I mean,
like Malcolm X. Lethal Weapon 3 came out.
Yeah.
You know,
Mr. Baseball.
Patriot game. Yeah, Chaplin. I mean,
yeah, a great film.
Robert Downey Jr. Brilliant. It's a very good film.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we did well.
I think we did well.
What we...
Kevin Costner was in The Bodyguard, and that's but like we say, it's films that affected us immediately. Yeah. Immediately at the top of this list. Unfortunately, Steve Martin didn't really have a very good year this year. Leap of Faith and House Sitter were his two films. So you never know. Steve Martin might come back. LA Story was pretty strong, so we'll see what happens in the next few years. Have a great week, everybody. You know where to find us: Spotify, Audible, YouTube, of course. Just download us, share us, get the word out there, because Frame by Frame we've been going for quite a while now, so it would be great to get some steady listeners listening to us rant.
Yes.
Perfectly, amusingly.
Yeah.
All right.
I think so. All right, brilliant. So we shall see you next week with 93 or 90, or maybe, we'll do 93 and we'll try and get a commentary in.
That'll be it. That'll be perfect. And thank you very much. Over to you, Tom Cruise.
I feel the need for speed.
Ow!
Charlie, don't surf!
This is fantasy.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Quit griping.
I like griping.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.